Hi, it's Alex from Adult Services, and today we're going to be doing a pop-up spring bunny craft. So here's an example of what we'll be doing today. So before you get started, you want to gather your materials. So step one, find out what you want to paint on. So for example, we have different types of trees and logs from our yard that we put together. You can also find a piece of wood. It could be small, it could be large, or it could be this size. So gather your materials first. Also find some scratch paper or paper so that you can actually paint on the paper so you don't paint your surface of your table. Next, you want to make sure you get some scratch paper so you could actually sketch out what you wanted to work on. So I drew out my design and then I picked out what colors I want to make everything. So I got my sketch, I got my basic materials, then I can start picking out my paint. So what we have here off to the right is our acrylic craft paint. So you can get that at your local store, and it's a really great paint. And then get a paper plate so that you can make that as your paint palette. And then at least 1 to 2 brushes is always kind of nice. I like to have a bigger brush for the bigger stuff and then a smaller brush for the more detailed. So we have all our materials and we'll be getting started with our first part of the craft. Step one is we're going to be creating our background first. It's important to do the background first. So you can see we'll be doing a sky and we'll be doing the grass. So let's do that. We're going to get our paint. So we got a light blue. I'm going to put that on our palette here. So a little bit of light blue. And we're going to then take our big brush right here. And we're going to paint that onto our log surface. So once you're done with the sky, you want to wash off your brush. You don't want to cross-contaminate your colors. So put it in your water bucket there, and then use your paper towel to sort of dry it off. And then we're going to look for a light green for our actual grass. So what we do, let me just put a little bit on the palette. Okay. Alright, so we'll dab that on there. And then I'm just going to outline the bottom. Now you can always, if you need more sky or you need more grass, you can always end up once it dries, you can paint over any part. That's the nice thing about the craft paint. You make a mistake or you don't like how something looks, you can always wait till it dries and then repaint over it. So that's the nice thing about working with the craft paint on a wood surface. So let's just really quick just get that painted in there. And you won't need too much. I mean, if you want to do one coat, if you feel you have to do a second coat, you can. But I would say don't use too much paint. If you use too much paint, it'll take a really, really long time to dry. But just enough, and you'll be able to, it'll dry, and then you'll be able to move on to the next part, which is the actual painting of the scene. Okay, so there is our base, and we'll be then letting it dry for a little bit, and then once the sky and the grass dries, then we'll be adding on our bunny and flowers. By now, our sky and our grass has dried, so now we're going to paint the bunny. So we're going to use a white bunny, so we're going to use our smaller brush so we have a little bit finer detail. And then we'll start outlining it. I always like to start with an outline. Starting with the ears first, and then so we got our ears, and then we're gonna do our face. Again, it can be a little bit bigger than the one here because I had to make a smaller bunny, so I'm making it a little bit a cross between this model and what we have here. We'll make it nice and big because we got space. Put the little tail on there. Okay, so we got that. And then we're going to start drawing the shape of the bunny. You can always go back and paint over any areas that you're not happy with. Okay, so there's a general design. It's pretty close to that one and a little bit like that one. So then what we do is we'll fill it in. And one important thing to note is we're just filling in the main part of the bunny. We're not going to add the details like the ears or the eyes or any of the other details until it dries. Because what could happen is you'll start blending the colors together and it will not look nice. So definitely be very cautious. Get your solid colors first, let it dry, and then you can start with your next batch of colors. Okay, so I did an initial paint, but I'm going to just go back and fill in the details a little bit. And then there's your bunny. Okay, so while the bunny is drying, we're going to make a couple of the flowers. So we'll start with the stem. We're going to use a dark green. We're going to paint them down here. So do a nice thin line here. And then a little thin line to the right. And then a little thin line to the left. So we got one stem. I'm going to do a couple more stems while I'm on this color. So one line right here. I always like to paint at the end of the brush just because you have a little bit more control. You don't want to paint up here because otherwise you don't have as much control. So almost like a pencil. Okay, so we got a second one. And then we'll do a third one. We'll do one up here. Okay, so we got the stems, and we'll put one more in there. I think it'd be nice to have one more. And then just give that a chance to dry then. Once we get the stems in there. Okay, so we'll let that dry, and then we'll do the petals as soon as it gets a chance to dry. Okay, I'm going to continue with the flowers because those are, it looks like the stems are dry. So we're going to add the center of the flower first. So we'll do that. I'll do that on a couple of the flowers, except for the one that I'm going to do a tulip. Tulip, I won't need that. Okay, so I did my centers there. Let me just... Actually, while I think about it, we also have a sun there. We can do the sun because that's in yellow. So we can do a little sun up there in the sky. I'm just going to add some. Okay, there's our sun. Actually, we'll make it more of a circle. Okay, I made a circle. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to do the petals for the flower. So just Okay, and we'll use this pink and make a tulip. So, can outline it. And then and then what we're going to do is we're going to now do the gonna make an orange flower. So we're going to add the orange petals. So we got our orange flower, and then our final one is going to be our white flower. And one more petal. Okay, so there's our flowers. Okay, so let's wrap up the rabbit. I'm going to paint the pink ears in there. Okay, and then we kind of do the nose. Okay, and then what we'll do is the final step is just to add the highlights of the eyes and the mouth and the whiskers. So let's do that. Do an eye. These are just dots. And then we do the whiskers. And we'll do a mouth. I'm not too happy with that, so we're actually not going to do the mouth. So all I have to do is I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll just cover it over with white paint. Okay, the mouth has been dry, so I'm going to touch it up with white. I'm not going to have a mouth. So we're just going to use some white paint, and then I'm just going to paint over it. And we're just going to add a little bit of, I just need to touch up the sky a little bit, so we're going to add a little bit of blue. I'm just going to touch that. Okay, and I'll just be touching up a little bit of the sky right by the rabbit. So hold on one second while I do that. And then just didn't notice any other little touch-ups, so I'll do that right now. Okay. Alright, well I think that looks good. If I see anything else, I'll definitely, I can always adjust at a later time, but that is our full painted bunny spring craft. So thank you for coming today, and have a good day.